Some children don't remember a clear moment when childhood ended. There was no announcement, no goodbye. It just faded. One day they realize something quietly but deeply unsettling. Someone has to hold everything together. And somehow that someone became them. Psychology has a name for this experience, but before we get there, it's important to understand one thing. These children weren't dramatic. They weren't rebellious. They weren't asking for attention. They were adapting. And adaptation, especially in childhood, can look a lot like maturity. 1. Childhood without permission. Most children are allowed to be careless. That if they didn't stay alert, something would fall apart. So they became observant. They learned when to stay quiet. They learned how to read a room before speaking. Not because they were gifted, but because they forget things. They make mistakes. They expect adults to fix problems. But some children never had that luxury. They learned early that emotions weren't safe to express. That chaos followed vulnerability. Had to be. Psychology explains that when a child feels responsible for stability, their brain shifts priorities. Play becomes secondary. Curiosity becomes cautious. Safety becomes conditional. Childhood doesn't end suddenly, it slowly tightens. 2. When responsibility arrives. Too early, psychologists call this early role reversal. When a child carries emotional, mental, or practical weight meant for adults. Sometimes it looks obvious. Caring for siblings, managing a parent's emotions, acting as the strong one during crisis. Other times it's invisible. Being the peacemaker, never adding stress, always saying I'm fine. The child learns an unspoken rule. My needs are optional. Other people's needs are urgent. Over time, their brain adapts by turning down emotional volume. They don't stop feeling, they stop prioritizing feeling. That's not strength, that's survival. 3. Self-reliance. That wasn't a choice. Developmental psychology shows that when support is inconsistent, children stop expecting it. They don't get angry, they don't complain, they adjust. They stop asking for help. They stop believing comfort will last. They learn to handle pain quietly. As adults, these individuals often appear highly capable, emotionally steady, independent. But beneath that surface, there's tension. Trust feels risky. Support feels temporary. It's called uneven emotional development. Some parts mature too early. Others never get the chance. That's why these individuals can be wise but unsure, responsible but emotionally confused, strong. Dependence feels unsafe. They learned early that relying on others can lead to disappointment, or worse, responsibility. 4. Split maturity. One of the most overlooked effects of growing up too fast is something psychologists yet deeply tired. They can give advice effortlessly, but struggle to ask for help. They understand others deeply, but feel disconnected from their own needs. They weren't taught how to need safely. They were taught how to manage. Relaxation feels undeserved. Psychology links this to early stress conditioning. When childhood calm was followed by crisis, the nervous system learned to stay alert. So even in adulthood, they feel guilty doing nothing. 5. The inability to truly rest. For many who grew up too fast, rest doesn't feel peaceful. It feels wrong. Silence triggers discomfort. Stillness feels unsafe. And now healing isn't about becoming someone else. It's about finally learning that you're allowed to rest. So ask yourself gently, did you grow up too fast? And are you still carrying weight that no longer... They feel valuable only when useful. They stay busy to avoid unease. Their body learned that vigilance equals safety. Rest feels like negligence. Final message. If you grew up responsible for more than a child ever should have been, psychology doesn't say you're broken. It says your nervous system learned early. You learned responsibility before safety, independence before comfort, strength before gentleness. Belongs to you,